Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Pretty much everything legally connected. What's law got to do with it? With Carol Sigmond, who is our professional of the year. And we're going to circle back to something we talked about a while ago because it was trending and now it's trending again. And I'm talking about the tariff situation. Welcome back, Carol. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
Good. And this is trending in a big way because President Trump has signed an executive order that will prevent high U.S. tariffs on goods from China from snapping back into effect for another 90 days. Literally just happened. So we're jumping on this right now. Now, your specialty is construction litigation, but you have your finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. And this is certainly one of those things. What was your initial reaction when you heard that he signed that executive order?
I thought it was interesting because of all the tariff programs that he has, his program against China probably has the most staying power. It's the most impactful, and it's the one where he probably has the best legs to stand on under either the 62 or the 74 Act. So, and I say that particularly having to do with the 74 Act because of China's history of currency manipulation, which is very well documented and does give him a basis to take various actions. They're limited in scope and limited in time, but he does have a fair degree of flexibility under the 74 Act. Really, for China, did not a lot of his other tariffs have as many legs as his China tariffs do.
So the outcome with this latest order, not a surprise. And as I understand it, if the deadline was not extended, then U.S. duties on China would have shot back up to where they were. I believe it was in April we last talked about this.
Yeah, around 50%, yeah.
Yeah. That
There
all
goes
being
Christmas.
said,
Here goes the Christmas toys.
yeah, well, buyers need to make their purchases now, so kind of important. What has gone on in terms of our economy, based on your view, in terms of what has taken place since April to present?
So the impact of the tariffs is beginning to be felt. I saw a report this morning from Goldman Sachs suggesting that consumers have been absorbing about 22% of the tariffs, and it looks like by fall it'll be getting closer to 67%. So we're going to continue to see price increases. And it's not just going to be Christmas toys. It's going to be everything. So when I say everything, I'm talking about cars, new cars, and parts for cars. So this is going to have a big impact on auto insurance because the more expensive the parts are, the more the insurance companies have to charge to cover the accidents. So look for an increase in new cars, used cars, car repairs, and auto insurance.
Are you saying, despite anything that's going on right now with signing this order, et cetera, you're feeling we're going to see
happening.
This is happening. Okay.
This is happening. Look at housing. You're going to have more expensive materials and housing prices, and that's going to affect homeowners insurance because that means housing repairs get more expensive. Okay. Now, it also, housing has been double impacted, not only by the tariffs on the materials, but the shrinking workforce, because we've talked about this before. 1 out of every 5 construction workers is an undocumented worker, and they are leaving. Some voluntarily, some not voluntarily, but that group is not protected. So many of them are leaving, and we have a smaller workforce out there. Smaller workforce, higher prices, jobs take longer, jobs cost more. Now, pricing, and then you have a whole host of other things that are going to get expensive: avocados, maple syrup, wine and spirits. Many of the fresh fruits and vegetables that come in from Mexico will get more expensive. Appliances because of the metal taxes. So washing machines, irons. I had to replace an iron recently, and the price of an iron for shirts is going up.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
I know we're getting granular here, but in
yeah,
my memory, and I bought an iron 3 years ago when I moved,
yeah,
I'm going to say it was like $27-ish.
44, 44.
If it was 44, I would have probably thought twice about it. Now there's,
Yeah, now it's
there's,
44. Yeah.
wow.
So that's what I'm trying to say. The prices are up. Washing machines, dishwashers, vacuum cleaners, anything that's got a lot of metal is going to cost more.
My friend just
Every-
bought a refrigerator, um, just shy of 3,000.
yeah,
Nothing fancy. I'm like, makes ice. That's about it.
there
Wow.
you go. But all of this is being impacted. So, and prices tend to be sticky, even if the tariffs disappear. Not so clear to me what's going to happen to these prices, whether they come down or not.
Well,
Well,
it's a really great point you make there, Carol, because yeah, manufacturers look at it, resellers look at it and say, well, they're paying for it. Let's just leave it where it is, even though, maybe the prices come down with a different tariff situation. Yeah, that hurts.
So we have all of that happening.
Yeah.
But there's some more that's happened, I don't want to say it's been out of the public eye, let's say. So on July 31, the Federal Circuit, the 11 active judges of the Federal Circuit held an en banc oral argument on the IEEPA tariffs. Those are the tariffs that President Trump has used for the bulk of his tariffs, not the 74 Act, not the 62 Act, but IEEPA. Very interesting argument. The judges were very well prepared. They had some very specific questions about the president's authority to tariff, given that duties and tariffs are not mentioned in the statute. And as one judge made it very clear as he was discussing the situation and questioning the lawyers on both sides, Congress has a very elaborate system, and it meant to cut back the president's power in 1977 in the IEPA. Most of the commentators think that the government will lose in the Court of Appeals, and we're starting to watch for the decision to come. And they didn't hold an en banc hearing to waste time. They held an en banc hearing to accelerate time. And as we talked about the last time, they accelerated the briefing in June and July. This was a very quickly briefed case. It was argued to the entire bench, and one expects a decision no earlier than the middle of this month, which is just about here this week, to the middle of September. What will happen? If I'm a betting woman, I'm betting that the government loses, that the Court of International Trade decision is upheld. The tariffs under the IEEPA are found to be outside the president's authority. And then the president will announce that he's going to go for stay and cert in the Supreme Court. And in accordance with this longstanding custom of this court in particular, the Federal Circuit, which has national jurisdiction, they will stay their decision. They will stay the mandate down to the CIT, and they will allow the cert to play out. And then the question is, what does the president do? Does he announce the intention not to follow the Court of Appeals decision? That would create a constitutional crisis. Does he insist on a Supreme Court decision? Do Roberts and 5 members of the Supreme Court agree to grant cert? Very interesting.
Mm. Without getting political, and I always put that disclaimer out there,
Absolutely.
that's not what we're doing here. We're just looking at facts and what has transpired. But now I'm going to ask your personal opinion. Do you think there's positivity in the tariff situation, imposing them, this whole thing going on here? What's your view of the positive?
I'm not sure there is a positive. And it's important to set the context. The president talked about a trade deficit. We don't have a trade deficit. We haven't had a trade deficit since I can't tell you when. Because while we have a deficit in a very narrow area, which is to say goods, we have a massive trade surplus in services. And our economy has been transitioning from a goods economy to a service economy for 50 years. This didn't start yesterday. This started in the 60s when we started to push services, accounting services, technology services. I mean, we didn't have a problem. This entire exercise is on something that really wasn't that big a problem. And I don't know what the long term is. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good to just to make the economy this uncertain for an issue that's not that important. Goods versus services. If services is where we have the huge surplus, let it go, let it run. We weren't being hurt. The dollar was strong. We were the world's currency. That was a soft power position for us. I'm not sure what problem we're solving that needed solved, and what emergency is so grave that we had to disrupt the international economy this way. I'm not sure.
Even with all of this, many trade experts say there will be another 90-day extension after this one expires.
Well, that's that line about, Trump doesn't follow through. He blusters and bluffs, and then he backs down. And we've seen that. And I think many of the experts are right. I think he intuitively understands the problem doesn't justify a major crisis. I don't think. And that's why he backs away from a major crisis each time. The question is, will he see a negative decision from the Federal Circuit as some kind of a power crisis, in terms of presidential power? That will be very interesting. And then it will be interesting to see how the Supreme Court plays it.
What's your thoughts on Canada? Back in April, we were talking about Canada, China, et cetera, et cetera. Where are we at with that in terms of your view?
My view is that trying to make Canada the 51st state is not a basis for tariffs. The fentanyl crisis, which was the basis for the tariffs, is not it's not a product of Canada. Canada has little to nothing to do with the fentanyl crisis. I don't think long-term the Canadian tariffs survive. I think the Canadians understand that. I think they are playing the long game, and I think they are playing a game intended to protect their economy. But I think they realize that this is a short-term, relatively short-term set of events. And when people start to have to pay a lot more for liquor, I don't know what's going to happen.
Of all things, right? We're looking at food, the cost of irons, clothing and everything having gone up May, June into July, and here we are, August. There's been repercussions from this. We've been feeling them. We've been seeing them. We've been paying for them.
Maple syrup.
Why would that be?
It's one of the things the Canadians can tax to death.
Okay, interesting.
And without harming their economy too much.
Funny you should say that, because it's just popped in my head. Father's Day, went to breakfast, and the server said, after I, ordered my meal, pancakes, whatever it was, would you like maple syrup, pure maple syrup? And I look at the price, and it was like $6 just for the maple syrup. That's it. We're not talking, a container of, we're talking probably a little thing you can pour on it. That much. So I guess that's what's going on now. Wow.
Yes. So I think I don't. right now, the American public doesn't quite know what to think. They've seen a lot. There's been a lot of noise. There's been a lot of carrying on. If Goldman is right, and if 40% more is going to start of these tariffs are going to start hitting the consumers are going to stop spending, and that's going to throw us into a recession.
Yeah, that's the reality that none of us would you want to think of. I even hear coffee could be going up. Now, I don't know why that would be, but the price of coffee beans, which, coming from Brazil and other countries.
Well, Brazil is one of the countries that he slapped big tariffs on.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can interfere with maple syrup, you can interfere with liquor.
Don't mess with my coffee.
Don't mess with my coffee. Sorry.
Yeah. That's going to hit hard. There's, yeah.
And keep in mind, I don't quite understand what the Fed's strategy is right now. They're holding the line on interest rates because the tariffs are creating inflation. We could get into that worst of all possible world, stagflation, in which the economy is stagnant, but there's upward price pressure. That would be not a great place for us.
Well, you did mention interest rates. You specialize in construction, litigation, and more. What's your vibe now? We talked about this months ago in terms of the housing industry. Now, we already talked about construction costs going up because of the tariffs, but interest rate, buying an existing home, where do you think that's going to go? What's your vibe on that now?
Going up.
Really?
Certainly not going down. I don't think the Fed is going to be increasing rates, but they have not done what a lot of experts expected, which was begin to decrease them. And I believe that's because the tariffs are creating inflationary pressures, and the Fed is going to hold the line on interest rates to keep the inflationary pressures down. And that is not going to be good in the housing area. And it's really, it's tragic. We have, I mean, new homes are getting more expensive. I don't care what kind of home you're talking about. Multifamily, single family, two family, they're getting more expensive. Young people need housing. It's not getting built. Other policies the administration is pursuing are adversely impacting moderate income home builders. I mean, housing is going to become, to me, it's been a long-term crisis.
Yeah.
And worse. I don't see the tariff situation in any way, shape, or form curing this. And the Doge activities did not do anything to help the housing situation.
The squeeze is there. I mean, near me, a young couple just moved in. Got to say hi to them because Amazon delivered my order to their place because they were getting lots of boxes because they just moved in. And I don't know what they're paying exactly, but I got to say it's probably right around $4,000 for an apartment on Long Island, not New York City, and not Nassau County, Suffolk County. They got to be just at 4 or just a drop underneath it. How do you afford that? But then again, you can't afford a home because the down payment, the price alone, and now talking about the interest rate, where's the relief?
Well, how about the young people? I mean, how about the student loans? These young people are paying off these crazy student loan debt too. I mean, we haven't cut them a break. We need to cut them a break somewhere. And the last administration was trying to force down the loan costs and trying to get as much of it wiped out as possible, whether you liked it or not, or whether you approved or not. That's what they were trying to do, is they were trying to get some relief to the young people so that they could, look at home buying and stabilizing their lives. But they've got the student debt. They've got the increasing prices on homes. They've got the impact for cars and other consumer staples that are being hit with the tariffs. They're not catching a break.
No.
And this is not this is not good for society.
It I had this thought the other day. I don't know why it popped in my head, Carol, but it's like the thought of when was the last time the government truly supported us, like truly supported us. And the first thing and the only thing really came into mind was during COVID with the small business loan that was forgiven. And that was substantial amount of money during a very challenging time. But it was like, wow, okay, man, I feel a little bit of love, for all the
Well,
taxes and everything paid.
And the government continued some of that with child care credits and things of that nature that
True.
continue. They're mostly now expiring. I was going to say the GI Bill was the last time the government really entered the economy in a way that was meaningful.
Mm,
COVID was much shorter. The GI Bill had impacts for a generation.
yeah, yeah. But impactful. I mean, if that wasn't there, wow.
Well, GIs went to college. GIs were able to buy homes. I mean, that was positive and impactful. We aren't seeing, I mean, the Biden programs for COVID were much shorter in duration. They definitely served a purpose, and they definitely, as you point out, helped small business. They
Sure.
helped families. They did a lot of things. They slowed down the growth of some of the student loan debt. They did things like that, but all of that is over.
Mm. And there was, even with that, not being negative here, just stating facts, there was uncertainty with that because you had the loan, but you didn't know whether you had to pay it back. You were waiting to hear if you did. And it was almost like you're rolling the dice. Well, we'll see how it goes. But eventually, most didn't need to, if not all. But it felt like, there was some care given there. Paying $44 for an iron, I don't know. I don't know about that. And again, I don't do politics. I really don't. I just look at the facts and try to piece the puzzle together. This change being made, tariffs. Why are we doing that? How is that going to affect? And piecing all of this together, the pieces point to more challenge for the average American. Just is what it is.
It's going to hit. It's going to hit the average American. Unfortunately, it's hitting hard.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that we'd get a decision that would take the IEEP tariffs off the table, leave, yes, some tariffs on China, but take away these other tariffs, leave tariffs and, a lot of economic sanctions on Russia because of the Ukrainian invasion.
Yep.
But otherwise, stabilize the trade situation, stabilize the economy, allow prices maybe to settle down, and then let the Fed lower interest rates. That could be a good thing, but we need to have some certainty on these tariffs, and they need to be rational.
You said the word that's resonating in my mind, certainty. There's uncertainty. We can't even plan for the future because we don't know what's coming. And just based on evidence in terms of prices, interest rates, what do you do? I mean, like I sold a house, wanted to buy another one. I already put offers on back then. And I guess thankfully I didn't buy at that time because I was just buying to buy, but it wasn't the right choice. And I'm glad I went with my intuition. But right now, I don't know. I can't even, or move to another state, which, not out of the realm of possibility. There are cheaper places to live than the New York area, but, everybody's got their thing going on. I appreciate all your insight and the research you do on this, Carol. You break it down so it makes sense for the average person. I appreciate that.
I try.
No, you do a great job. Somebody's got a comment they want to connect with you. How do they do that?
Email.
Okay.
Carol.sigmond@gmlaw.com.
And there's,
email.
I want to make sure there's a dot in between your first and last name.
Yes.
Okay.
It's Carol.Sigmond.
Got it. SIGMOND @gmlaw.com.
Correct.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today and all the insight. I am the smartest person in the room. We'll be sharing that knowledge later when I meet up with some people, and looking forward next time we get together.
Thanks, Steve. Good to see you too.
You too. We'll be right back.
Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.